Hello everyone and welcome to Remote Chess Academy. I'm just kidding, No, basically, today I wanted to upload a video with a pretty catchy bait title, even though, technically it's not bait at all. You will be seeing an opening which I played, which did indeed score me 80% against 1e4. And yeah, the reason why I'm allowing myself to stoop to these bait YouTube title names is that I wanted to try my best to market and advertise my upcoming course on the Old-School Gurgenidze Modern, which is going to be coming out in 2 weeks on the 164th day of the year. So mark it in your calendars, guys. Last week I played in a tournament, this Chessmood 2020 Grand Prix. And the idea is that on the 20th of each month, there is a fixture and there's a whole Grand Prix where the points get added together, and you might be able to make this final event that has a lot of nice prize money, as you can see from the 20,000 US dollar prize fund. And last week, we actually scored our personal best in this event. We came 6th place out of a total of 16 teams, but most importantly, we managed to beat the I Am Eric Rosen fan club, which is an absolutely phenomenal feat from us Small Chess Lifestyle team. So if any of you are interested in playing in this, you can definitely drop a comment and I will share with you the details of how to join. But within this tournament, basically I had a personal best score as well. I scored 44 points. And of these 26 games that I played, I had a look at, my different openings. I analyzed all of my losses. And I noticed that in 5 of the games, I played Gurgenidze Modern against e4. And in 5 of these games, I scored 4 out of 5, which means I scored 80% with this Gurgenidze Modern. So I wanted to share with you some analysis today of this opening. And okay, I won't be able to give you here are the top 10 traps of the Gurgenidze Modern, although that might make an interesting video as well. But no, I just want to share with you what this opening is about, and hopefully from these 5 games, after analysing them, you'll get a better feeling for whether this opening could be a nice fit for you against 1e4. So let's get into it, shall we? So I thought we'd start with the game I lost, actually, because I always feel like when you analyze your losses, you learn the most from it. So we'll start there, and then we'll continue in chronological order. So against e4, g6, bishop g7 is the modern defense, and the Gurgenidze starts with this move, c6. And the idea of playing c6 is taking a leaf out of the Caro-Kann handbook, which is to follow up with d5 next. So pretty much whatever white plays on this 4th move, we're going to follow up with d5. And the Gurgenidze games get very blocked, very closed. For the record here, white really doesn't have a choice but to enter these lines if they want to try and push for an advantage. And yeah, the engine definitely does favor white in some of these main lines because, the chess engine really values taking space. And the engine is an expert at making use of its space. But at the human level, I feel like, having space is actually not so easy to handle. And if anything, we can actually use that space as the, kind of reactive side to kind of infiltrate and enter on these squares. So, in the Gurgenidze Modern, this is the Austrian attack variation, which is chapter 1 of my course. It looks as if, our bishop is completely blocked and this is quite miserable. And what you'll realize is in these closed structures, you actually get a lot of time to remaneuver your pieces. So basically, it's not such a big deal that our bishop is blocked because, this bishop can even reroute to a square where it's not blocked. And we're going to have the time to do it because the position is so blocked. So the fact that we have so much time means we can even play a move like h5. Right, because here, all we are trying to do is set up the ideal structure for our pieces to then flow from. So, for instance, we might want to put this knight on f5, where it exerts pressure on the center. It's on a nice sticky square. It looks pretty good. But we'd always have to worry about white kicking it with g4. So we want to play h5 first, and then plant the knight on f5. So most players, actually, in this kind of position, play the move knight f3. This is by far the most popular move on Master Database, Lichess Database, but it's actually slightly inaccurate in my opinion, because it allows black to achieve a strategical goal, which is to trade a minor piece. And whenever you have a space disadvantage, you want to trade one minor piece to basically give the rest of your pieces more space. And after h3, we can play e6, and in this position, there's a very key move to keep in mind, which is h4. And the idea is that, what you don't want to allow is for white to be able to push g4, f5, and, attack black structure. So when you play the move h4, if white ever tries to push g4 now, we can always take en passant, and we basically keep our structure intact. This pawn is going to be very difficult to push forward. We can consider taking with the g pawn or the e pawn, depending on the position. And this is quite nice for us. So that's why our opponent actually came up with a really nice idea, which is play bishop e3. Which of course I've covered in the course as well. This is an important move to look into. Because we can no longer just play bishop g4, because white will not block with the knight. They will simply move the queen and the bishop will get stranded. For instance, if we ever play like bishop g4 and we play this move e6, the problem is that these two pieces are going to get in each other's way. You can see that black knight wants to go to f5, but the bishop is taking that square. So yeah, when you have a space disadvantage, you want to trade off that one minor piece to make life easier for you. So here, I recommend the move knight h6, and on queen d2, this is actually inaccurate from the opponent. We can see that probably the engine already gives black as getting closer to equal with this very key move knight g4. And the idea is that we're just going to control these squares for the bishop, and if we can trade off this knight for the bishop, we achieve that strategical goal, right, of trading one minor piece. And you might think that this bishop is actually a bad bishop, but it's actually a very good bad bishop. That's the terminology I use, because even though it's locked in its pawn chain, it does control these squares in which we might like to break. So in this position, we can get rid of that good bad bishop, develop our bishop outside of the pawn chain. Of course, we never want to play e6 and lock this guy inside, so we get the bishop out. We trade off another minor piece, why not? And at this moment, I was feeling very confident. I thought, I've traded off two minor pieces, I have a very, very solid structure. Eventually, I'm going to break with c5. My king can stay flexible, doesn't want to go kingside to queenside. Do we even want to do a little shimmy, put the king on g7? So I felt very flexible, have achieved some of my strategical goals already, felt very good about my position. Now, the thing is, I cannot play the move h4 yet. Because if I play the move h4, white can play g4, and if I take, then they can take back with the pawn, and they can still push g4 and f5, which is not the end of the world, but it's something we like to avoid. So I'm waiting basically for white to play h3 to prepare g4, in which I'm going to play h4 and shut down this plan to go g4. Now, what my opponent played, the guy is a 2600 IM, so, it's not a bad player. He plays the move g3. And this is actually a move that I've seen before. I mean, there's a very famous Gurgenidze game between Bobby Fischer against Tigran Petrosian, both former world champions back in the, the Gurgenidze Modern, I should add, it was a legitimate weapon used at the highest of levels in the 1970s. But, since engines have come and hit the scene, it's decreased in popularity a bit. But, I mean, it's still a very, very fighting testing opening, and I wholeheartedly don't believe that the opening is refuted. So I'm really happy to advocate for this opening, and I play it, right? But after this g3 move, this is what Bobby Fischer played against Petrosian, and it's a very clever idea, because what you want to do is you want to now play h3, and if black plays h4, now you can meet it with g4, and there's no en passant rule. So it's kind of slower, but you're basically achieving your strategical goal, right? And when you have a closed position, you need to understand that time works differently to open positions. You can take that extra move in order to achieve your goals because the position is closed. If the position is open, you take that extra move, you're just going to get checkmated in the middle of the board. So then you need to focus more on just getting your pieces out quickly, getting your king safe. But closed positions work a bit differently. So Yeah, I mean, like, I like to analyze my games, especially the games I lost. Um, and yeah, I came up with an interesting conclusion here. But the point is that this was my first mistake of the game. If you remember, I said that there are different ways we can kind of reposition our pieces, and one of the ways is that we like to reroute this bishop to e7, where it controls more squares. The problem is not with this plan itself. I mean, the bishop actually is better on e7 than on g7. But the real issue is that, you know how I said that, this is a closed position, we can take as long as we want. Well, the problem is after bishop f8, h3, bishop e7, g4, what I failed to realize in this blitz game is that the position is about to open up. And as a Gurgenidze player, it is absolutely essential that you are observant of when the position is at risk of opening up. And unfortunately for me, in this blitz game, I was not picking up on the fact that actually, hold up, g3, that means h3 is coming in, that means g4 is coming in, that means f5 is coming in. I need to hurry up with my play. Now, at the end of the day, this is a bit of a slow move, and the engine actually is already giving complete equality for black, and suggests this idea of queen c7. And the idea is that we want to push c5. We don't really want to allow this knight to come in. Sometimes you can allow it, and you can just undermine the knight. But the engine likes this move a6, and then c5. So the point is that when we get to this position where white has achieved that f5 push. If we compare this position where f5 has been achieved versus this position where f5 has been achieved, we can see that the improvement of the position with this bishop f8, bishop e7 is far less useful compared to getting our king safe, getting some counterplay in the center. This is by far more important now that the position is opening up. So, I had this chance to basically get a very decent position with black, but unfortunately, I missed it. So after g3, I just made this bishop maneuver, which is far too slow, and I managed to get my king safe. But again, this position is definitely not as nice as this one. So what ended up happening was my king side gets a bit ruined. But I actually missed a nice motif here because, I'm fighting back in the center with my play, right? But the problem is I've got two attackers and white has two defenders. And what I missed here was actually I had a very nice motif. I don't know if it was a motif to equalize. Yeah, I advantage is back with black. I mean, can you imagine? Like, white is literally a pawn up. It looks like black is in trouble, but black is still better. After this move, h takes g4. And the idea is that I want to trade the pawns, capture this rook so that I displace the rook from d1 and I take the pawn. I mean, from an intuitive perspective, it doesn't make sense to trade this rook and give white a free open file in which he can potentially enter and attack on the 7th rank. But yeah, in order to win a very important central pawn, I can definitely understand why this might be good for black. And in this game, unfortunately, I took the pawn, they took back, and my idea was to win this pawn. Just basically risk opening up the center, even though my king is weak, just to get back the material, just to get knight c4 in, get some counterplay. But unfortunately, I missed that he has to move queen e6, which successfully trades queens, in which I don't have any more knight c4 business, and my position, unfortunately, collapses. I lose two pawns, I really have nothing to play for it, and my opponent does not mess up his conversion. I mean, I fight on the best I can. This was an unfortunate reality that, he's got this beautiful fork. I mean, IMs find these nice combinations. I fight until the bitter end because I like to always try and play for stalemate, never give up. No chance here. But could learn a lot from this game, and this g3 move is therefore a very important motif to keep in mind, which you will see in the course as well. I have analysed this Fischer-Petrosian game. So let's move on to the next game. So this one, the rest of the games I managed to win, so this is how it went. We get this Gurgenidze structure, and I should clarify that white has three different ways to play. They can either advance, they can either ignore the tension, or they can capture, a bit like in a Caro-Kann, where you've got the advanced variation, the exchange variation, the classical variation. It's just the same. So black can go for the exchange, And what I recommend here is just to develop your pieces, get your bishop outside of a chain again. And okay, I mean, the opponent literally just blundered a pawn. I mean, this is what happens all the time. When you play an opening that is not one of the big four, it's not e4, e5, it's not the Sicilian, it's not the French, it's not the Caracan, very often the white player is quite uncomfortable. Unless they're like a grandmaster and, they've been playing chess for like 30 years and they've literally seen every opening under the sun. You're going to catch people off guard with this. And yeah, people just aren't used to where their pieces are. I mean, that's why, like in the Caracan, in this exchange variation, very often you see that the white player plays this move c3. Why is that? To strengthen their center. But suddenly, they've got themselves into a random opening where they've just developed their pieces, and suddenly, yeah, they're making a mistake, right? They're just dropping a pawn. So, what ended up happening was, I won this pawn. This move was actually probably unnecessary. I mean, it's probably better that I just develop and get my bishop back on this home. My logic was, okay, I can create a pawn structure weakness, and it doesn't matter that I've lost my dark squared bishop because they don't have a dark squared bishop to punish me on these dark squares. If they still had this bishop, I 100% would never take this knight. I would drop the bishop back at some point, and life goes on. Probably knight e7 is good because there's currently a rook on the line of my king. I don't really want to allow that to stay in the position. So, my idea was to try and trade off this queen because, if I trade off the queen, trade off the dark squared bishop, then there's going to be no problems on my dark squares with just these three pieces. I developed my pieces and, I decided to play king f8, king g7. I think I remember I was commentating this game live and I was like, why didn't I just castle? Probably that's just an even more efficient way of doing this. They don't really need the rook to be on the h file. In some of these lines, if we go back, it's actually very useful in these Austrian attack setups to keep your rook on the h file. And you very often don't castle the king because as soon as you castle the king, then this g4 plan comes back into play. But when you keep the rook potentially open on this file, then that's not a possibility. So, what ends up happening is, my opponent sacks a pawn for activity, but he doesn't really get too much for it. And, I'm just up material, and, I decided to trade into this queen versus two rooks because I've got this advantage. My king is actually pretty safe. Like if they ever try and take on f7, then I can just trade all the pieces, and I've got a winning pawn endgame. So I decided to push the pawns, and I realized that these pawns are potentially weak. But then I saw a little tactic that I could play the move d3 here, because actually, if white tries to take the pawn, I am going to be able to push d2. I cover this square. It doesn't matter if they get a rook behind it. I'm going to promote, and after I get the promotion, I even trick him with this move a3. Okay, I played it at some point. Yeah, because I was hoping that maybe he'll take it and I'll just get this fork and win the rook. And yeah, to my surprise, he took it. And yeah, now this is just completely winning. I mean, I won on time as well. So as you can see, often in the Gurgenidze Modern, we are trying to play from a very strong static base. And then we will, apply dynamics to the resulting positions, but we always have a stable base to rely on. I mean, this position where I managed to win the pawn, you can see my structure is very, very solid. Like, my king is going to get safe. Like, this is the most important thing, that, I have king safety, I have good pawn structure. It means that if my dynamics fail, I can always fall back on having a better static position. So I very much like playing these statically strong positions with the black pieces. So, I mean, with the white pieces as well, just in general. Okay, let's move on to the next game. So this game, again, Gurgenidze Modern. This time the guy plays with bishop c4. Doesn't matter, I can play with the move d5. Not going to be a problem. They give a check, I block, and yeah, this motif comes in a lot of the time, and it's very simple. You just block the pin and all the activity, and you even threaten a little trick. If white were to just play castles, I mean, okay, now I can call this a real remote chess academy video, because there's a trick. The trick is to take on e5. And the point is that I reveal an attack on the bishop, and the bishop can't take because then my knight boomerangs back to recapture. I mean, I call this in the course the boomerang tactic. It does come up occasionally. So this also happens in the French defense as well. So it's a common idea when white tries to go for this pressure Yeah, so you can take this knight, but yeah, most of the time, players will just chop this bishop off immediately, and okay, this is just an equal position. I'm pretty sure the engine, yeah, is giving pretty much equal again. The other moves, if white doesn't play so accurately, it can definitely fall into black's favor because again, black has the better static position. When we look at this pawn structure, you might say, oh, it's the same, right? Both sides have 7 pawns. What's there to note? But the point is that this structure of the 2 versus 3 can basically enable you to play the minority attack. And this is a very, very strong middle game plan. I will go into great detail on the course on how to play this, so don't worry. But yeah, basically, this is a favorable pawn structure for black. I mean, the reason why it's still playable for white is because white needs to generate an attack on your king once you castle. Yeah, so basically, they want to make an attack work, and we're going to try and win on the queen side. But yeah, this is normally a winning plan on the queen side if you can get it rolling. So yeah, basically, the pawn structure again, the static structure is better for black. So at this moment, unfortunately, I played a bit too quickly here. I had berserked this game. If you remember that this Chessmood Grand Prix, it's like it's an arena tournament. It's blitz, so I was trying to get more points. I was berserking, and I played a bit too fast here. I just castled. Right? What can be wrong with castling? Well, it turns out that in this position, whenever the opponent plays c4, we should always chop it because we want to give them this isolated pawn, and no matter what happens, whether they take or whether they develop, we got to be a bit careful of this kind of stuff, so we should play like rook d8. But the point is, yeah, either we can just castle and we can play against this isolated pawn. Here, we can actually even take the pawn already. So yeah, black is just completely better after this move c4. This is just not playable. But unfortunately, I castled, and I then made the mistake that after knight c3, I wanted to, redeem myself, capture this pawn, and I completely forgot that actually, now that white has a bit of extra time to develop his knight, this is not the same situation as before, and white is in time to play this move d5. Where, there is PP on the PP, as I like to say, pressure on the pin piece, taking a leaf out of Gotham chess. And yeah, my knight is in trouble. Now, it turns out that I actually had to move a6, which I did consider, but I just thought it didn't work because of d takes c6. I can't take the bishop because of the queen. But of course, I can throw in this capture on d1 first, and then take the bishop. And even though this position is a little bit scary with this pawn, it's actually not too bad. At least I'm not down a piece. So I had a resource to get out of this. Unfortunately, I missed it. So I just gave back the piece, and yeah, I was now playing a piece down. So at this moment, what should you try and do when you're a piece down? Well, you need to try and activate your pieces. You need to try and create imbalances, and you need to be tricky. Like if you cause them problems, then there's more chance that they mess up. So yeah, I am putting pressure on their pieces. I win back a pawn. Yeah, I make sure I go back to f6, not g7, so I have luft for my king, if needed. And basically, I hold on. I hang on. Like you can see, my structure is still very solid. I'm just a piece down. And what I end up doing, I mean, my opponent plays well. He does well to like trade off his bishop, but I eventually get my chance. Like I'm just trying to stay as solid as possible, avoid the trade of rooks, make sure everything is well protected, and yeah, okay. At this moment, I offer a trade because psychologically, if I'm the one offering the trade, like it's a difficult choice for them to disagree with me and take the rook, right? And also, I thought if I trade, then I can take the pawn and I can try push this pawn and be a nuisance, right? We're down to 20 seconds each, so being a nuisance can make all the difference. And he didn't trade. I played b6, and I got my opportunity. Just being tricky, and here my opponent played this rook takes b6, just missing the fact that my rook is actually attacking the knight, and that means even though he's attacking my rook, so I can't take the knight, he takes my rook, of course I can just trade first and then win back the knight. And this is the nice thing. Have a look at how I convert this position. Of course, we're both on 13, 14 seconds each, so it's going to be, not much time to think. But all I do is I don't touch my pawns. I basically just play around with my rook, with my king, make sure that at all times my rook is supported, my king is safe. right? Then I can play very fast, right? So I just make sure I'm using all of the sticky squares. I give annoying checks, and I just stay very solid. I don't want to allow these breaks. And at this moment, just from a few safe moves, I have double the time, and he's already blundering, right? So I just stay solid. I just stay solid. You see, all I've been doing is shuffling on these safe squares. Okay, I can improve the king. All I need to do is make sure that I don't allow a free fold repetition. So I give some annoying checks. I even get a winning position. I have way more time on the clock. I use 3 seconds, they use 12, and we get the W. So managed to fight this one back just by staying in the game and basically holding up and creating a lot of resistance, which you have the potential for because the Gurgenidze Modern has a very, very solid static structure. Right, let's move on to the next game then. So this game, managed to win. Again, we get this Gurgenidze Modern. Okay, the guy plays a different setup, doesn't matter. We go for this g6, bishop g7, c6, d5. And we go for h5 again. White tries to activate this pawn with f4, but again, we're going to block them up. And as you can see, I do not hesitate to offer this trade. I don't mind giving up my bishop pair. This is a closed position. The knights are going to be favored anyway. And can you guys remember, at this moment, after h3, what was the key theme here? After bishop takes, queen takes. Okay, I throw knight f5 to hit the good bad bishop, but at this moment, after trading it, what was the key theme when they've played this h3? What are we supposed to do in this position in order to stop them from getting activity? And of course, the answer is h4. Right, we want to prevent this g4 push because we can take en passant. They can't go g3 either. We take it. So life is very good here. So knight f3 is played. Now I reroute the bishop to e7, where I can basically control more of the board. I also try and protect that pawn. And okay, white castles kingside. I break in the center. No need to worry about any knight jumps here. And I develop my pieces. And yeah, my opponent decides that he is statically worse, right? I've got a very, very healthy pawn structure. He's not going to be able to play for his plan of g4. I'm just going to improve my pieces, pressure this pawn. Maybe one day bring my knight around. I don't know. Maybe it's just equal. But still, my opponent gets tempted to, crush me. And he plays his knight e6. And of course, the opponent can do this. Your king is going to get a bit hairy. But this is just where you need to keep your cool. And just remember that you are a piece up. So he gets in this f5. I activate my queen. If I can trade off queens, I'll be very happy. I don't mind that I've given up all these pawns. These pawns are pretty weak if I can collapse them. Unfortunately, I cannot trade off queens at this moment because I will lose the bishop. So I strengthen my position a bit more. I also noticed that he doesn't have any good discoveries to reveal an attack on my rook. So he plays the move rook c1. I improve my rook. And he's trying to, make use of all of these pins and everything. But I just get out of it. Like my king finds shelter. Everything is just about solid, and I realize that in this position, okay, I actually missed an easy win. I just take on d4 with check and then win the queen. But I also saw that winning the queen is also winning because I win the rook. So now I've got bishop and 2 rooks against rook, bishop, and 3 pawns. But with the activity of my pieces, I'm more than good enough. And yeah, I repeated just to give myself a bit more thinking time to work out what I want to do with my pieces. And yeah, then, okay, I sacrificed the bishop just to get rid of this annoying configuration because I'm still up a whole bishop. And then I just activated my king. King is a fighting piece in the endgame. I secured my bishop, secured my king, and my opponent resigned. So yeah, this can actually happen in the Gurgenidze Modern. I'm not saying that every single game you're going to have perfect king safety. Of course, the opponent can sacrifice and weaken your king. But, we just stay solid and if they try and break through, then they're ultimately trying to break through a solid setup, and this can lead to an incorrect sacrifice, and we can still survive and win. So yeah, I felt like this was a very thematic Gurgenidze Modern 2, and yeah, this is a really nice touch. When they play with this h3, we can meet it with h4, and we don't have to deal with this g4 push anymore. Okay, and that leads us on to our final game. Now, I'll just quickly mention that if you've been enjoying this game analysis, in this Chessable course, I have a whopping 38 annotated games. Not just in the theory section, but I have a bonus section as well where I include an additional like 8 games or something, where I'm basically talking about middle game concepts and themes as well that stem from the Gurgenidze. So if you've enjoyed this analysis and you feel like you've learned a lot about the Gurgenidze Modern, definitely consider this as a factor when considering this Gurgenidze course. But without further ado, let's check out this game. So again, we go for this Gurgenidze Modern. We get the classical setup from white, and the opponent plays bishop e3. I recommend both bishop g4 and to take on e4, as you'll see in the course, but I go for bishop g4 this time. They play e5. We lock up the pawn chain. We make this capture, and yeah, there's nothing much to worry about here. I mean, whenever white plays this h3 g4 structure, we can always try and break it down with h5. And yeah, I just develop my knights for starters, and then I see what the plan is. And again, we are eventually going to be wanting to break with c5. I first play queen a5, bring the queen over to this side of the board, and then I push c5 and try and undermine the center, just like you would in a French defense or a Caro-Kann. And in this position, we get a big trade. And I don't mind these trades because, again, we have a statically very strong position, so these trades are okay. Again, I didn't really want to worry about this move. Probably is nothing to worry about. Probably we can even just take this pawn already or play knight c6 and capture this pawn. But, okay, it's a blitz game. I just want to prevent my opponent's counterplay. And, yeah, I decided that castling queenside is a little bit safer, given that f5 is going to come. And yeah, he plays queen b3. So I absolutely do not mind trading, given that, you know, my king is probably a little bit weaker than Vaz, so having the queens off would be in my favor. And now I just activate my pieces, right? This is what I was saying about having the rook on the h-file. If the h-file ever opens, the rook can get active. And yeah, I just double on the rook file. In fact, actually, I had a stronger move. I had this very clean b5 move. The reason being is that if white tries to harass my pawn structure, by all means take it. Then your knight is actually trapped. So the knight would need to retreat, and yeah, somehow I'm basically winning a pawn by force. So this was like some very very smooth idea to try and get an even bigger advantage. But okay, rook d8 was all right. White found a very nice move though, c4, to try and break open my center. I pushed, which allowed the trade of pawns. And okay, my king is a little bit worried, but we should remember as well, the rook and knight are not a good tag team. They don't actually work so well to deliver checkmates compared to the rook and the bishop. So I wasn't too worried, to be honest. And at this moment, as long as I don't allow this rook into the 7th rank, then I should be all right. And I played this rook d8, they traded, and I brought my king to the other side, just a little bit further away from this knight, where I thought it'd be a bit safer. And I think white should really try and go for activity here and try and fight back. But instead, they go on the passive, which gets punished immediately with this mini tactic, bishop takes e5. And then I just win a pawn, their structure collapses. And yeah, again, I just had to be a bit careful with converting this. Again, prioritizing that my king finds a safe haven. This check, I can move to f5, not a problem, which is what happens. And actually, yeah, there's no capture with tempo and getting the fork, because I capture back, I defend the pawn, and it turns out that my position is just winning, and I just push this pawn all the way. And to be honest, in this position, I should just promote, and of course I'm better. But given he had 2 seconds, I cheekily threw in the check, waste him some time to recapture, and okay, of course I win on time with the extra 10 seconds. But of course the position is winning as well, especially at this moment. I can just queen. So overall, I scored 80% with this Gurgenidze Modern in this Chessmood Grand Prix. And I hope you can see from the games that they're very, very thematic. I mean, as a player, I've come to learn that I really like to play openings that have a certain flavor and a certain style to the opening. And that's why I've actually, called this opening course the Old-School Gurgenidze Modern, because I feel like old school really suggests like a sense of style. And, this is an old old school opening. I mean, it was really, really popular in the 1970s. It actually led to some really funny revelations in the Caro-Kann, because I mean, actually, you can get to the Gurgenidze Modern through playing a Caro-Kann as well. Like, for instance, after e4, c6, d4, you can always play g6. And bishop g7. And a fun fact, actually, I mean, back in the day, people feared the Gurgenidze Modern so much and found it so annoying to play against as the e4 player that they actually stopped playing the move knight c3 here, which is like, the main move in the classical variation. And they started playing this move knight d2 instead, because if black were to play g6, now they can play c3, and at least strategically speaking, they have blunted the Dasgard bishop. Whereas, if they play knight c3, they were just terrified of players just playing g6 and entering into this Gurgenidze structure. So very, very funny revelations back in the time before engines became popular. I have also done a deep dive into the history of this opening that was really, really fun to share with you guys in the course. So that's at the very end of the course. But yeah, I hope you can appreciate the opening from this short video. I hope you don't feel betrayed by my clickbait titles. I try not to do it too often. And the final thing I'll mention as well is that all of this repertoire, I've played this for 2 years competitively in all time controls. I would say that this experience has led to me understanding a lot more about this opening. But the other amazing thing about this course is that this time, rather than just being alone, like I was with C3 Venom, this time I'm actually in collaboration with Grandmaster Damien Lemos, who also is an absolute fan of the Gurgenidze Modern, and that's actually how we got talking in the first place, because we were both like, damn, we love this opening. And then we were just like, you know what, we should collaborate on this. And Damien's actually going to be in charge of making the videos for the course. I've been doing most of the groundwork with the writing, but in terms of all the writing and all of the repertoire, it has completely been verified and checked by Damien. And many times I would just be writing to Damien, being like, asking him this question, that question, being like, well, why can't I do this plan here, that plan there? And getting a GM's insight on these lines was just amazing. So I've added a lot of that into the course as well, which I hope you guys will also learn from. So this is really a joint effort between me and Damien, and I hope you will consider getting this course. It is published on June the 13th. The 164th day of the year. So if you're feeling like 164 is a very chess day, then I would highly recommend you consider getting this course and having this repertoire against 1e4. So thank you guys for tuning in. No more clickbait titles from me. I'll try my best to avoid that, and see you in the next video.